Hi guys! We're going to start our first lesson today. This is a lesson on the French and Indian War. Before we start, I want to just remind you to set up your 2-column notes. So you're going to draw a T-chart like this, and at the top of the page you're going to write the title, The French and Indian War. On the next line you'll write our objective for today. Our learning objective is that you will be able to identify the causes and effects of the French and Indian War. Below that, on the left side, you will write key terms or things that you think are important, and on the right, you will write your notes. Now, one thing that's really tricky about this war is the name. The French and Indian War makes it sound like the French were fighting the Indians, but actually, the French and the Indians were fighting the British. The Native Americans allied with the French. During colonial times, England and France were both exploring and claiming land in North America. Both countries wanted to expand their empire. In the 1750s, the French started moving into the Ohio River Valley. They built forts and traded with Native Americans and just generally made it obvious that they were not planning to leave the Ohio River Valley anytime soon. One of their most famous forts was called Fort Duquesne. Now, this is a really tricky spelling because it's French, so I'll write it down for you and spell it out loud. Fort Duquesne is F-O-R-T space Duquesne is D-U-Q-U-E-N-S-E, Fort Duquesne. Now, at the same time, Britain also wanted the Ohio River Valley, and so they decided they were going to fight for it. George Washington was a colonel in the British Army. The British wanted to claim that valley, so they sent Washington with 150 men to capture Fort Duquesne and claim it for the British. The problem was that 150 men were not enough. They were so outnumbered that the French defeated them no problem, and they sent Washington back to his commanders with a message: leave the French alone, the Ohio River Valley belongs to them. Well, George Washington and the British did not give up that easily. They came back with more men, and they marched in big fancy lines with a drum line and lots of music playing, and this was not an easy way to sneak up on anybody. So the French and the Indians who were fighting against them, they hid behind the trees and rocks, and they snuck up on the British. And they lost again in that battle. In fact, over the next 3 years, the British didn't win a single battle. They lost again and again and again. It wasn't until 1758, nearly 8 years after this war began, that they finally started to win against the French. And the reason it started happening is because this man named William Pitt convinced the British Crown that they had to send a ton more money and a ton more troops if they were going to beat the French. The thing was that sending troops and money was overextending the British Empire, so they ended up spending more than they really had to fight against the French, sorry. And it worked. In 1763, they signed the Treaty of Paris. The Treaty of Paris said that the French were going to give Britain all of its land east of the Mississippi and up in North Canada. The French was going to give Spain Louisiana, which was in the south. The French no longer had any claims in North America, and now British and King George III held the most land in North America, actually in the world. Now, the reason that the French-Indian War is so cool to study is that the map of North America before and after is so drastic. Look at this yellow spot that the French had before the war. Look at what the yellow spot after the war. They only had claims to this island that had sugarcane in the Caribbean. So really, the map of North America changed drastically. Look at all the pink on the right. That is the new territory that Britain had after the war, and it means that they had a ton more land to take care of. So I just want to review the causes and effects of this war because it's really important to American history. So really it was caused because England wanted more land and France wanted more land, and Native Americans really saw the French as better allies and less of a threat to their way of life. Now, after all the fighting, the effect of the war was that England had spent a lot of money on the war, and they had extra troops in the colonies, and they were controlling more land, and all of that was really expensive. France no longer had any claims to the land in North America, and Britain was now the largest empire in the world. Now, all of this is really important to the future of America, and it's going to have a huge effect on the causes of the revolution. Now, you can go back and watch this video again if you think you missed anything or you just want to double check that you have all of the important concepts. And otherwise, we will go more in depth with the French Indian War when I see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening!